Hey friends, hope you're all doing well. It's great to see you again. Let me introduce you to the new adjustable bench from Prime Fitness. This, what they're calling the Shorty Bench, is one of the most versatile benches on the market, and it has some seriously cool features. Aside from just using it as a regular bench, you can quickly add attachments, transforming it into a multi-purpose station, allowing for preacher curls, decline movements, and more. However, after using this bench for the last few months, and as much as I love its overall utility, there are a few things to consider before potentially adding it to your home gym. In this video, I'll take you through everything you need to know about the Prime Shorty Adjustable Bench, the good and the bad, and I'll stack it up to the Ironmaster Super Bench Pro, which compares favorably in terms of versatility. Let me show you around. Let's start by talking about the Shorty's performance as an actual weight bench. When you first look at it, you may be thinking to yourself, Adam, the back pad is way too short to be a legitimate bench. Half my torso would be hanging off. And you would be correct in this setting, but Prime smartly designed this headrest to attach and detach quickly to take advantage of everything that this bench has to offer. To attach the headrest as well as some of the other attachments, you simply hook the base on the underside of the bench and rotate upward until the pop pin secures it. Only takes a couple seconds and now you've got a full-length back pad. Okay, so now that you understand a little bit of the basic operation, which I'll come back to in more detail later, let's break the rest of it down. So this bench uses a ladder adjustment, which a lot of us are accustomed to. However, it doesn't have a typical design with a ladder and hooks. Rather, it uses a channeled frame with cutouts that catch the support arm. Functionally, it works basically the same. It's fast and easy to use, but without a cage, the arms are free to move about, which I would argue isn't as user-friendly. On the back, you've got 10 adjustments ranging from flat to 85 degrees with a nice set of standard angles. You've got 10 and 20 degrees for shallower work, 30 degrees for chest-supported rows, on up to 45 degrees for various chest angles, and then even higher for more shoulder-focused movements. On each setting, you've got dual-sided laser cutouts for easy angle identification, which is always helpful. When you've got the headrest attached and you're in the flat position, the rear support post rests directly underneath that headpiece, giving it a 1,000-pound weight capacity. Otherwise, when you're in an inclined position, you've got a 600-pound capacity, both of which are standard in this class. Moving to the seat, you'll find angles ranging from -30 to 30 degrees. This uses a similar notched ladder design, but unlike the back, it doesn't have markers for angle identification. Now, is that a reason not to buy the bench? Of course not, but for a premium bench, I'd like to see laser cutouts somewhere, whether it's in between or on the sides, just something to mark the spot. Sticking with the front post, you'll notice that it has a narrower tripod design, which is great for foot placement and leg drive. However, Prime designed the handle off to the side, making it so that you can't fully take advantage of the narrow post. In total, it eliminates about 3.5 inches, which may be meaningful if you like to take a super tight stance. Perhaps a horizontal low handle, similar to what you might find on the Rep Blackwing, may be something for Prime to consider on a future version. On the subject of leg drive, this bench offers an 18-inch height in the flat position. Now, that's not uncommon for an adjustable bench, but it seems like more and more high-end options are coming out with ways to make it 17.5 or even 17 inches tall. The main benefit being that shorter benches offer better leg drive for shorter lifters like myself. I'm not offended by the 18-inch height, but I would prefer something slightly shorter. Moving to the pads, I see some pros and cons. In my opinion, this is a comfortable bench. At 1 3/4 inch, however, it is thinner than some of the ones that you'd find that are 2.5 inches thick. So you do give up a little bit of that density, but the actual texture is nice. The vinyl also, premium look, premium feel. It reminds me of something that you would find in a high-end vehicle. But as plush and as well applied as it is noticeably slicker than other benches. So if you're utilizing a lot of leg drive, if you're doing heavy benching, you're probably going to find yourself sliding around on this bench more than you would on others. You should also know that the total width of 10 inches is narrower than the 11 to 12 inches that you'll find on most competing benches. If you're a heavy bencher or someone who wants a little more structure under the shoulder specifically, this probably isn't the bench for you. Though while a 10-inch pad may underperform on pressing, it excels on accessory movements like pec flies and chest supported rows in my experience. I also want to point out this well-designed pad gap. Not only is it small at roughly ½ an inch, but you won't find any hinges inside of it like you will on most benches, making it a lot more comfortable if you happen to slide into or set up in that gap. A couple other things I wanted to mention regarding the frame of this bench before we move into the attachments. This is a heavy-duty bench, and stability is one of its standout features in my opinion. When you look at the back spine, you've got full coverage underneath that pad, which is really important considering that this pad is a little thinner than the rest. You've also got a 26-inch rear support base, which is wider than most. So if you're doing a lot of movements that really stress that lateral integrity, things like dumbbell pullovers and the like, you're going to find this bench is very stable and accommodating. Of course, this bench also has wheels, making it easy enough to move around, but it doesn't have a way to be stored vertically, which is a definite downside in some home gyms where you may have some space limitations. Perhaps an attachment on that rear support would be a way to solve that, but I'd love to see a solution to be able to store this bench upright. All right, let's move into the fun stuff, the attachments, what we've all been waiting for and what makes this bench so unique. Let me first walk you through the short setup, and then I'll walk you through each of the attachments as well as a future attachment that just might change the game. The biggest traditional advantage of having a short back is for chest supported rows, especially if you're a shorter lifter like me. On a longer back, you may find the pad directly in your face when performing chest-supported rows. However, with the short setup, you have much more movement freedom, and it generally feels better. I feel like I'm in a better position, I can breathe better, and it's nice to just be able to look down unobstructed. In addition to rows, I also enjoy using the short back for movements like shoulder presses or even seated single-arm rows on a functional trainer. The biggest non-traditional benefit of having a short pad, though, is the attachments. Right now, Prime offers 3 different end attachments, including the headrest that attach right on the back of the pad, 1 side attachment system, and then 1 post attachment. So let me walk you through each of those. I'll start with my favorite, the preacher curl. This attaches just like the headrest and snaps into place to create an outstanding preacher setup, one that I think is better than dedicated preacher benches because you can adjust the angle of attack by simply adjusting the back pad. You can go shallow and mimic more of a spider curl with a vertical angle, or you can increase the back angle to 60 degrees and achieve a flatter preacher angle. I like 30, 45, and 60 degrees the most, but you can play with the angles to find the right ones for you. As you can see in these clips, I can achieve a full range of motion, and that goes with a barbell as well. If you like to preacher curl with an easy bar, for instance, you have that option with no limitations unless you have a more upright position or really long arms. The shallower you go, the bar will find itself positioned in front of that post, still allowing for a full stretch. Prime also has the Dumbbell Cradle attachment that slides right on top of the rear support post. It is somewhat loose fitting, but since it literally just holds weight, it's pretty inconsequential. It offers plenty of protection with UHMW and even has removable side plates depending on your dumbbell size. The cradle is pretty straightforward to use, but just know that the attachment may limit range of motion depending on limb length, dumbbell size, and back angle. Most people are going to be fine at 45 or 60 degrees, but if you're working lower angles, you may need to remove the cradle and set up differently. Moving on, but sticking with the biceps theme, these are elbow pads that attach to the side of the bench for performing incline biceps curls. On the underside of the bench, you'll find a rail with 9 side holes for fixing these attachments to your desired height with the help of a pop pin. They work exactly as intended, and despite having a little bit of natural play, these feel rock solid under load. Another possible use case of these pads is creating a modified floor press setup. Ideally, they would be a little longer for better arm coverage, but they work well for cueing that in range. And remember, that's not really the purpose of them, it's just an interesting adaptation. I also appreciate that Prime added some built-in storage for these elbow pads. Just line up the holes to stand them vertically, and they'll stay out of the way even in the flat position. Next, we have the leg roller attachment for decline movements. This isn't crazy unique or anything. Basically, every FID bench has one, but the way this one attaches is a little different, and in my experience, it's more solid than some of the others. Yes, you'll still see some wobble here, but when you leverage your legs in, it's among one of the most stable that I've used. I also like this top handle. It makes it very easy to get in and out. If you recall earlier, I mentioned that this bench goes down to -30 degrees, which is great for decline sit-ups, or you can do a more shallower -10 degrees for decline presses. And lastly, a bit of a teaser of things to come. I can't share specifics of the actual attachment, but I've seen the renders and I think this has the potential to be a true game changer. I know that some people have seen a little hint here and there from Prime on maybe what this attachment could be, but it really isn't what they've depicted in the past. It's far better than that. And I'm not just hyping this to hype it. This is probably the thing that I'm most excited about in 2024. And I think it could realistically make this an in-game bench for a lot of people. Moving on from attachments, let me touch on aesthetics really quickly. Overall, I think this is a nice looking bench. It may not be my favorite with this almost rocket-shaped profile, but I appreciate that it stands out amongst the more conventional ladder-style benches out there. It comes standard in charcoal gray, and I've always loved how Prime includes this plaque on their equipment showing things like color specs, manufacture date, etc. As you can see, this bench was built in February of 2023, so they've been working on this design for a while. If charcoal isn't your thing, you can always pay a little extra and choose from 7 different premium colors, but just keep in mind that handles and pop pins are always going to have that prime green, which may clash with some of those color choices. One bench you may be comparing the Prime Shorty to is the Ironmaster Super Bench Pro, which is very versatile in its own right and comes with about a dozen optional attachments. Spec-wise, the Prime Bench is easier to adjust with the ladder design compared to the lever design on the Ironmaster. However, the Super Bench Pro does include an extra 5-degree setting. The Ironmaster bench has a slightly thicker and grippier pad, but is only marginally wider at 10.5 inches. It also moves on wheels, but unlike Prime, is capable of being stored upright. Attachments for the Ironmaster include a preacher curl pad, a leg extension, and even a full-blown cable tower, among others. It packs a lot of value, but in my experience, the Ironmaster isn't as high quality as the Prime, and I do like the Shorty bench more in general. That said, the Ironmaster is quite a bit less expensive, making it a great option if you're looking for excellent versatility at a lower price. This brings me to the price of the Shorty bench. The base unit, which includes the headrest, costs $725 as of this review, which honestly isn't that bad in my opinion when you look at the $600 Rep Blackwing, $600 Rogue AB 3.0, or the $1,000 Rogue Manta Ray. Now that price does go up as you start adding attachments, just as it would on any other bench. These run anywhere from $150 to $225, so if you bought all of them, you'd be looking at around $1,475. But I don't think you necessarily need all of this. I think a lot of people would just benefit from the bench, maybe the preacher curl attachment, and then the leg rollers if you do a lot of decline work. That would put you anywhere from $925 to around $1,075, and you could always add attachments down the road. But nonetheless, if it's any help, you can use code GGL at checkout. That'll save you 5%, and that goes for anything in the store. Okay, so my final thoughts on the Prime Shorty. I think this is an outstanding bench for the right person. Given the narrower pad, the slightly elevated height, and the slicker surface, I don't recommend it for powerlifters or really anybody who takes heavy pressing seriously. I do, however, highly recommend it for bodybuilders or anyone who performs a lot of accessory movements. These attachments are genuinely impressive, especially the preacher curl, and that's coming from someone who invented a standalone preacher curl pad. My opinion on this only gets stronger as I look at some of the upcoming attachments Prime plans to release in the next few months. Yes, it's a bit expensive, and no, I don't recommend it to everybody, but it's really nice and fun to use. So what do you guys think of the Prime Shorty adjustable bench? Are these attachments something that you could see yourself using? Is this something that you would add to your home gym? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Until then, be well, and we'll chat soon.